Okay, so I'm Adam, and I want to remind Andrzej that 5 minutes of lightning talk are sacred, so you can't hate me for Elixir. I'm a Ruby developer that for 2 years works mostly in Elixir, so I wanted to tell you something about it. Oh, never mind. So in Elixir we have if-else. This is cool. We also have something like ternary operators, so we can write inline if-elses. We have else if. Oh, sorry, we do not have else ifs, but this is like if else are some things that millennials only want. We don't really need it. Oh, that works better. So why do you need if else if you can write something like this? It's irrelevant. We also have switch cases with a default condition as true. So if you don't have default condition, it will just fail. Because in Elixir, I don't know if you heard, you want to fail very, very quickly. And the equal sign is not really an assignment operator. Even if it quacks like a duck, it's really a match operator. So you can see that it can match to 443 in this case, but again, will fail if you try to match it with anything else. And you can see that you have maps, which in Ruby you call hashes. And you can access some attribute from this map, but you also can pattern match it. You have arrays. Not really, you don't have arrays because you have lists. And the structure you are familiar with 1, 2, 3, is really just a syntactic sugar in Elixir for representation, for the representation where list contains a first element and the rest of the list. So you have a head and a tail, which you can also pattern match. So this is irrelevant. You can pattern match. You can pattern match an empty list. And you can use pattern matching for something more interesting than just assigning to the variable. So you have kind of conditionals with pattern matching, where you render some block based on what was matched and what was not matched. It will also result in an error if something is not matched. So this is irrelevant. Yeah, you can also use pattern matching with functions. So not only with this conditionals, but also you can just define multiple functions with the same name, and the function will the function that pattern matches will be evaluated. You have guards, and the poster child of Elixir is pipe operator, where you can pipe the result of one operation as a first argument to the next function. So instead of writing, for example, this, you can use pipelines, which I guess is not really interesting for Ruby developers, since I guess you could write hunkydory.reverse.split.upcase, but never mind. Yeah, so you have code that you can, so you have some operation that you might want to write with pipelines, but it will not work very well. It will break on production. So you can just write something like this using pattern matching with cases. So kind of similar to the else if. This is not really the prettiest solution, and we have a with statement that this can be refactored to. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Good, let's go. Good evening. So I need to stay at my computer because the clicker won't work. So anyway, I'm Tomasz. I am a Rails developer, and I'm a proud Rails developer, and let me tell you why in a minute. But also I need to tell you one more thing. I am not a day-to-day developer, let's say. Well, what that means is that in my day-to-day work, I stand on the product side of the development. But still, firstly, some disclaimers. You should know that this is not a tech talk. It's also not a business talk, to be honest. And yes, I'm fully aware that this is a dev conference. I'm not lost. I know where I am. But still, this is what it says on the Wrocław RB website. So I just copy that. One definition. I'm here to talk about non-profit organizations. So what they are is usually you would think that there are some people at the Amnesty International, Transparency International, or whatever, but those are only the big ones. And there are also small ones, and I want to talk about them, the ones that do invisible jobs every day. I borrowed this slide from a previous talk. It's not very visible, but you can realize it says PHP, Rails 1.10, Rails 6, and so on and so on. This Rails 6.0 and PHP. When I do it a little better, PHP with WordPress or tailor-made Rails 6.0. So most of the things that the non-profit organizations get is WordPress, and they spend hours trying to set it up, which, if someone helped them with tailor-made application, would cost you a couple of hours of your life, and they would be super happy with it. All right, I could tell you some vague statement like this: behave like a change. What did I write down? Behave like you want everyone else to behave, but that would be too vague. And what to do instead? So you probably know already where I'm going with my talk. Is in the past years I worked with some organizations, and I wrote a couple of Rails apps for them. It's very scary, but don't worry about it. Because mostly what they need is some block in 15 minutes like applications for several of their scaffolds. And Rails is good enough for them. And I showed the slide before. Still, this is way better for them than having a WordPress that they need to maybe also hire someone to tailor-made it for them. But the initial idea of which they had was that PHP and WordPress is going to be easy. So my advice to all of you is just, as they say in an unnamed commercial airline, sit back, relax, and maybe reach out to some of your local community or communities, and they don't need to be local. Just spend some of your time, help some fantastic people that are doing invisible jobs, make their lives easier. And if you didn't enjoy this call, if you didn't enjoy this talk, don't worry, this is my cat, which is deploying through Capistrano. And it's nice. Thank you very much.
So I wanted to quickly tell you something about Ruby and Elixir interoperability. But before, my name is Adam. I'm working at a recruiting company in Poznań. I'm a Ruby/Elixir developer, or Elixir/Ruby, it depends. Moving on, you may ask, why should I bother? What is the reason to make Elixir and Ruby cooperate each other? Let's assume this kind of situation when you building an app in Elixir and you want to call some service, external web service. And Elixir is not that mature, that have a lot of libraries that are wrapping those kind of APIs. And in the Ruby world, probably if you choose a random API in the web, there is very probable that you will find a gem for that. And then this was the case. I needed to connect to Jira API, and I didn't want to make it from scratch in Elixir. But of course, in the Ruby world, there are a lot of gems for that. So I was thinking if it's possible to connect those two languages. That the answer is, yes, they can cooperate very well, actually. Now I'll try to quickly show you how. The thing is that there is Erl port. This is an Erlang library which is used to run different programming languages into the Erlang virtual machine. And currently it supports Ruby and Python. But actually, I am an Elixir developer, so I don't want to write Erlang because it's not that developer friendly as Elixir. So fortunately, I found the wrapper for the Elixir to Erlang port. And I was able to relatively easily run Ruby code inside Elixir. So this is how it's done. We are just using this library, this wrapper around Erlang port. And we're just starting a regular Elixir process with this line, suggesting where is actually our Ruby code in our project. Then this function will return process identifier, which is used later on to call actually a Ruby code. In this case, this is upcase function with a string argument, and then it's returned the result. But this is a very simple result. The real world example is a little bit more difficult. I don't know, it's visible right now. So let's consider that this is an Elixir code. And here we are starting a Ruby process to call some Ruby functions. And here is the correct valid Ruby code. And this is just code to just authenticate with the Jira API. We are calling here this function, which is actually here, with the arguments passed here, and we have them here. It looks nice, but there are some caveats, some problems with that. For instance, the one problem is with data structure mapping, because they are different. They are kind of similar, but they are different. For instance, this is how Erlang data types maps to Ruby types. If we are operating on the simple data type like integers, floats, strings, it's okay. But if we are doing something with maps, keyword lists, maps are kind of hashes in the Ruby world, then we have a kind of problem. But that's solved with the library. For instance, if we want to return a tuple in Ruby, we can do just like that. So this problem was solved, but I faced a different problem because Ruby is an object-oriented language. So if we create an object here to connect to the Jira client, then return something, and then we are closing here the process in Erlang that was run a Ruby code. We just lost this object. So in order to not authenticate with the same credentials each time when I want to make a call to a external API, I just solved this problem. Probably it's not the best, but it works. To just serialize those objects, then I can receive it here in the Elixir environment, turned into some sort of JWT token and return. Yeah, and actually, that's all. It works really good, and I recommend trying it. Thanks.
Okay, we can start. So I don't know what is this talk about. I just wanted to check how many things about different topics I can stick into 5 minutes. So I should start already probably. So I have 5 things to say. One will be about people hates him because he can save 60 euros per year. Second one will be why Ruby is not dead. Third one will be thank you. Fourth one will be please help. And fifth one will be, well, we will see if I have some time. So people hates him. He found a way to earn 60 euros per year just by having fun. So I will just read, it will be faster. 6 years ago with 3 friends, we went to Druk camp where we met Andrzej, who told me that we should come to the Wrocław, but I said, I won't be able to buy tickets probably because of how fast they are sold. So he told me to help them organize conference, which sounded like his worst, most insane idea. Because I'm from Białystok, which is like 700 kilometers from here. But after a few days and few talks with Andrzej about some board games, I realized that organizing conferences, sending few emails or making few calls, so I don't need to be there. So I started to organize t-shirts, after parties and so on. Since then I'm always in charge of before, after, final parties in pubs or clubs that I never been before. And I never have to buy a ticket, so there is 60 euros per year. Why Ruby is not dead? Okay, I have no time, guys. This question is not about Ruby language at all. It's always about our community. If client is asking you if Ruby is dead, he is wondering if he can get developers when you leave. So he is really caring about community, not about language. At least I feel like that. So it's about how good are we into convincing more developers to use our lovely language that have no issues at all. And so far, after each Wrocław, I feel like super enthusiastic about what is the shape of our community. I don't mention the language at all. Okay, thank you. I wanted to say thank you for all you people that are involved in this community, not only speakers, organizers, supporters, but mostly for people that are enjoying all the climate with me, the people I can speak with in the after parties, the people who are there to be part of it, and I am talking to all of you guys. And in particular, of course, our organizers, all the sponsors that we have on our webpage. Sorry, I can try maybe. Not there, not there. Okay, yeah, we have them there. Yeah, you have them there. Okay. And also guys who are with us year by year and always be like a part of community. Nico that is always playing for us. Norbert that is trying to convince us to closure. So we feel like we are important because he came here to convince us for something. I don't know why. Both Jonsa brothers, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, but they are always giving our lightning talks, and one of them never can win book. I keep fingers crossed for you today, but don't have big hopes, okay? Yeah, and I lost where it, okay. I mean, okay, okay. So yeah, you all feel like I say thank you to all of you, yeah? Okay, great. We can go further. Okay, please help us. I mean, help us organize next Wrocław RB. It's really joyful. You can save 60 euros. I don't know what else I could add to, to convince you. And I don't know how much time, but is Michał, which I met at the Druk camp there? No, maybe it's better. So, how not to meet new people on the Druk camp? Michał is still my good friend, so I hope he won't be angry that I spoke about that, but I consider it really funny. So, since I still have time, I just wanted to tell you a story about the strangest way to get new friends. Greetings, Michał, and also how I met whole the Druk crew. So when we arrived to the Druk camp, it was already 2 a.m., but some of the folks was still up because they are a nice community and were waiting for us, even though we were already 4 hours later. It's because my driver had to deploy a few hotfixes during the trip, so we had to make stops on random parkings where he was like looking for LTE, typing on the other hand, so that took us some time. So one of the guys who was waiting for us in the Druk camp told us where we were supposed to sleep. But only 3 of us had our own beds, and 4 of us, of course, that would be me, because of the rest, the guys agreed that I deserved it. Greetings, Adrian. Thank you.
So it's going to be different than yesterday a little bit. I wouldn't want to do the same lightning talk twice, but somebody asked me to play like the ending soundtrack or something of the conference. But I'd like to involve you a little bit, if you're okay with that. Do you like singing? Yes, yes, no? Okay, so if you don't like singing, you can like maybe beat the rhythm or do something. But if everybody can make some kind of noise, that would be nice. So I'll start with a little melody that maybe everybody knows, and you can sing that or anything else with any words you want. And if you can sing loud, it's better, but as you wish. Okay, we'll try that. Yeah, you're an enthusiastic, I can see that. I'm also a bit tired, so that's why I'd like to have some help. Thank you. I'm not going to code the whole song, just the 4 first notes. Okay, so you can start now or whenever you feel like it. I can hear you. You can really sing anything you like. Come on, come on, come on.
shot.